and I'm anxious to hear what his evaluator had to say about it. This next guy is also a longtime Toastmaster, not just here. This guy is all over the place, different clubs. He helps out the district. He's a superstar in my book. Folks, help me welcome Mr. Pat Egan. Welcome, Pat.
You are mute, Pat.
We can't hear you.
And thank you very much. Just joking. The great speech, Jose. I like hearing people's speeches especially when they talk about coming from different countries, because you're talking about a different experience, and I thought it was great. You started out the speech with a good introduction. You asked questions. I think questions are a great way to get all the audience involved. He said, like, who has been to another country? So a lot of people raised their hand. Then he said, who has been an international student? I think I only saw Shelley. I'm not sure there's other ones, but that's a great way to get us involved in, like, then we want to listen and learn more about your story. Then you started out, you said 3 things you want to talk about. You want to talk about food, language, and weather. So then, and you spoke about all 3 of them. In food, you shared how when you first came to the country, how you were starving and you were so hungry, and you could almost eat anything, but then you ate the American food, and you're like, wow, I don't like this. So we felt that with you. I mean, because you just think about yourself starving, and you can eat anything, and then you go and it's like, oh my God, what is this stuff? So I thought it was I felt that in you. Like, I felt that you brought me through that very good. Then you also talked about language, and you gave great stories about how when you spoke with your host family. And I thought one thing you could have done more, which I thought you could kind of feel is like that's a scary experience. You should have talked more about, because imagine myself if I'm in a house, say if I was in China or say I was in Honduras, any country, and I didn't know the language. I mean, to me, I would be scared. I'm sitting there just because this is my life. I'm in this country now for a year or 2, however long I'm going to be there, and I don't know the language. It's like, I better learn this crap fast. So, I mean, I think that was good. It made you feel that. I think maybe if you just spoke more about how scared you were, because, I mean, to me, maybe you weren't, but I would have been scared. And I also like how you talked about no comprende. That's a great thing. And also talk about sharing the story about dinner versus dinero, and that's a good way to help us relate to some of the experiences you were going through. Then the weather, you talked about weather, and you were saying how when you first came here it was cold, it was in the 50s, and how they're saying that's not really a big deal, but for you, I mean, you're coming from a real warm climate, that was a big deal. Then you get to December and you have the snow, so it's like we were walking through and I guess I can just imagine people like in Florida here going to a cold up here. It's a cold environment. So I could see how you would go through that. It's just some things I think. I know you were trying to do organization. So in the beginning, you started talking about the time changes. So and it you started talking about that, but you talked about food, language, and weather. So I think when you talked about time changes, maybe you should have put that in the weather section when you were talking about weather. And then just because when you first came here, how it was dark at 6 o'clock. Well, I mean, in your country it was dark at 6 o'clock, but here it was bright. And I think something like maybe make that relate to make it more organized with that time period. And also, I think your conclusion, you said you can definitely survive in any country and be prepared for new experiences. I think you kind of walked us through your life experiences, and I mean, to me, I learned a lot because I'm lucky. I've been in this country, the same language, English. So I know you're going through a change experience, like challenging experience, learning a different language. I think overall the speech was excellent. It was very informative. We learned a lot about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you,
Well
Pat.
done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Audio okay? All right. Great. Thank you for that, Pat.